Welcome home. You're back quite early today. Yeah, I bought sushi for all of us to eat. I was surprised because my husband, who had been ignoring me for over a month, actually replied. Plus, he was holding expensive sushi. It seemed suspicious, so I secretly swapped my sushi with my mother-in-law's. Oh my, it looks delicious. Let's eat right away. Come on, eat up. Even my mother-in-law talked to me, which was surprising. There must be something going on. Thinking this, I pretended to go to the kitchen to make tea and told them to start eating first. Then, I watched them from behind the door. My mother-in-law, who ate the sushi, started shivering and coughing. Unbelievable words were uttered by them. My name is Susan, and I'm 29 years old. I got married to Ryan, whom I met through my father's introduction half a year ago. I grew up with a strict father who hates dishonesty and a gentle yet strong-willed mother. I'm a serious person, which sometimes makes it hard for me to fit in with others. I have few friends and had no romantic experiences even as an adult. My worried father introduced me to Ryan, who worked at the company where my father was a department head. My father had high expectations for Ryan. Ryan's first impression was serious and friendly. He listened intently to my father's stories and also engaged me in conversation, making the atmosphere pleasant. Ryan had a good reputation at the company. He was trusted by his superiors and got along well with his colleagues because of his friendly nature. At a drinking party, when my father mentioned he had a daughter, Ryan asked to be introduced, and my father was more than happy to oblige. My father seemed excited, thinking that a good match had finally come for his daughter in her late 20s. It was the first time I saw my usually serious and strict father so excited. He must have been worried about my future. I wanted to live up to my father's expectations. I had never met a man who talked to me at my own pace like Ryan. As we talked, I became more and more attracted to him, and after a few dinners together, we started dating. During our relationship, I visited Ryan's family home and met his mother several times. She was friendly and considerate of my nervousness, just like Ryan. I thought it would be wonderful to marry into this family. When Ryan proposed, I was so happy. But half a year after our marriage, I started to regret it. Right after we got married, the topic of living together came up. Ryan's mother, who had lost her husband, seemed lonely and asked Ryan if she could live with us. I didn't doubt her and agreed right away. But that was the beginning of all my problems. As soon as we got married, my mother-in-law's attitude changed completely. Her previous kindness seemed like a lie, and she began to see me as an enemy. Susan, why can't you do anything right? Dinner is late, and you made so much food that we can't possibly eat it all. Please think a little. But yesterday, you told me to make more dishes. I tried my best to make them for you. What are you saying? It's my fault? No, I didn't mean that. Anyway, dinner time is at 6 p.m. Please be punctual from now on. You can't even prepare a proper meal. I never thought that someone like you would become my daughter-in-law. This kind of thing happens almost every day. My mother-in-law's demands change constantly, and even if I try to meet them, she complains about something else. For example, after finishing work and rushing home, I prepared dinner by 6 p.m. But my mother-in-law didn't come to the table until nearly 7 p.m. She then complained that the food was cold and that I wasn't considerate enough. Ryan usually comes home late due to overtime and social gatherings. As a result, especially on weekday evenings, I had to endure more of my mother-in-law's attacks. In front of Ryan, my mother-in-law would act a little more restrained. However, that didn't mean she stopped scolding me, and sometimes Ryan would defend me when he saw her behavior. But that was only at first. Gradually, maybe he got tired of it, and one day Ryan said to me, "Please try to adapt to my mom." I was speechless. How much more do you want me to do? I held back the urge to yell. I want to adapt to your mother too, but her demands keep changing. Even if I try to adapt, can't you just be flexible? You're an adult, you should be able to handle that much. Ryan coldly dismissed me with those words. The friendly and serious Ryan I knew when we first met was nowhere to be found. The situation was getting worse and worse. Ryan started to side with his mother blatantly. He agreed with her complaints and laughed at me. His mother, on the other hand, directed a triumphant smile at me because her son was on her side. My mother-in-law and Ryan treated me like a maid. On weekends, they would go out together, leaving me with the housework, or they would go out to eat together even though I had prepared dinner. Sometimes, Ryan brought home takeout just for him and his mother. The only reason I didn't leave their house was that I didn't want to worry my parents. My parents were delighted when I started dating Ryan. At our wedding, my usually serious father cried. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, who had such high hopes for our marriage and sent me off with their blessings. Besides, if something happened between Ryan and me, it would affect my father's reputation. So, even though my mother-in-law mistreated me and my husband didn't support me, I decided I had to endure it and keep going. My only comfort was my pet cat, John. When I said I wanted to bring John, who I had bought before getting married, my mother-in-law didn't like the idea, but I insisted. Now I'm really glad I brought him. After getting married, John comforted me countless times. Somehow, I managed to get through each day until one day, something changed suddenly. My mother-in-law and husband started to ignore me. I was puzzled by the sudden change with no warning or reason. No matter how much I tried to talk, I was ignored. Asking for a reason or trying to compromise was all in vain. Even when I tried to talk or did housework, I continued to be ignored. Then, 1 month later, Ryan, who usually came home around 7 p.m. at the earliest, came home unusually early at around 6 p.m. that day. As I thought I would be ignored, I called out to him, "Welcome home, you're back quite early today." "Well, yeah, I bought sushi for all of us to eat." I was surprised just by getting a reply from my husband, who had been ignoring me for over a month. On top of that, he was holding high-quality sushi. Something seemed suspicious. Before I could feel happy about him finally speaking to me and buying sushi, I wondered, what on earth is he up to? As I found my husband's behavior strange, moreover, Ryan placed my share of the sushi on the table first. For the past few months, there hasn't been a single time when my husband prioritized me over his mother. This is definitely suspicious. As my distrust grew, I secretly swapped my sushi with my mother-in-law's. "Oh my, this looks delicious. Let's dig in. Come on, Susan, eat up quickly." Surprisingly, even my mother-in-law started talking to me. There must be something going on. Convinced of this, I encouraged them to start eating first. "I'll go make some tea. You both go ahead and start eating." "Oh, I feel bad, but you're right. Hot tea is perfect with sushi. We'll start eating, so come back quickly." Pretending to head to the kitchen, I watched them from behind the door. After whispering to each other, my husband and mother-in-law began eating sushi. Then suddenly my mother-in-law started shaking and coughing violently. Water. Her eyes filled with tears as she struggled to speak. Ryan frantically patted her back. She shot him a sharp look. What's going on? Why is there so much wasabi in my sushi? I told you to be careful not to make a mistake. What is this?" I didn't. I put it on Susan's sushi first. There's no way I made a mistake. But I can't eat this. I wanted to see Susan suffer from eating sushi with wasabi, but now the plan is ruined because of your mistake. What are we going to do?" I couldn't stay silent after hearing their conversation. What on earth is going on here? A lot of wasabi. Did you try to make me suffer? Both of them had a word-busted look on their faces. However, my mother-in-law quickly changed her expression and sneered. "That's right, we ignored you for a whole month, but you seemed just fine, so we thought we'd tease you a little." "That's terrible." "What's terrible? You should be grateful just as a useless daughter-in-law to stay in the house." Even as my mother-in-law yelled at me, my husband didn't try to stop her. I couldn't take it anymore. I finally let out the words I'd been holding back. "I'm going back to my parents' house." I gathered my essential belongings and put John into a pet carrier. As I walked to the door with my bags, Ryan finally tried to stop me. "Come on, you're joking, right? This is too much just for a little joke." His unapologetic words only strengthened my resolve. Without a word and without looking at Ryan's face, I left his parents' house. My mother welcomed me back home. At first, she looked surprised to see me return so suddenly, but she quickly let me in. "If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to, but if you're okay with it, I'm here to listen." I told her everything that had happened since getting married. How my mother-in-law bullied me, how my husband gradually took her side, and how I was treated like a maid. I also told her about a month of being ignored and almost being forced to eat sushi with a huge amount of wasabi. I told her everything and apologized for causing trouble after she had happily sent me off to get married. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I just couldn't take it anymore." "It's okay, dear. Your father and I just want you to be happy. We don't want you to be with Ryan if it's causing you so much pain. You've been strong for so long." At my mother's words, the tears I had been holding back began to overflow. My father came home from work and after hearing the situation from my mother, bowed his head to me. I'm so sorry. It's all because I introduced you to Ryan. I had no idea he was like this. With the pained look on his face, my father made me feel even worse. It's not your fault, Dad, I said, trying to reassure him. You only wanted what was best for me. None of us could have known how things would turn out. My parents' support made me realize I had made the right decision. For the first time in months, I felt safe and understood. They helped me plan my next steps, reassuring me that I didn't have to face this alone. Then a call came in. It was from Ryan. The phone rang for a while, but I didn't answer it. I kept staring at the screen, waiting for the call to end. Finally, it stopped ringing. That's when I noticed a notification from an app. It was the pet monitor app I installed for John. I had set it to send me a reminder at this time to make sure I didn't forget to refill John's water before going to bed. Curious, I opened the app and pressed the button for live streaming. There my mother-in-law and husband appeared on screen. What should we do? Susan isn't answering the phone. It's fine, she'll come back eventually. Anyway, what should we do to her next? Ha ha ha, what if she says she wants a divorce? I'll lose my position as the boss's son-in-law. I was able to pass work off to my subordinates because of my position as my boss's son-in-law. I can't afford to lose that now. Boss's son-in-law? Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. My father, who was next to me, felt the same way. He quietly stared at the screen with a look of disbelief, his hands trembling. I immediately sent a message saying, "Let's get a divorce." Several calls came in right after, but I ignored them and went to sleep. That Saturday morning, the doorbell rang early. Oh my, who could it be this early in the morning? I heard my father's voice from the entrance. Following his voice, I heard the voice that had been irritating me. Please let me talk to Susan. She's misunderstanding a lot of things. It was Ryan. Since I didn't answer his calls, he came all the way to my house. Not wanting to cause my parents any more trouble, I went to the front door. I sent a sharp glare at my husband and spoke coldly. What do you want? Susan, why didn't you answer the phone? I was worried about you. Worried? You and your mother ignored me for a month and then tried to make me eat sushi with a huge amount of wasabi, I replied. Ryan was speechless. I started to close the front door on him. I'll bring the divorce papers as soon as they're ready. I have nothing more to say to you, so please leave now. Wait, are you serious? You've never been in a relationship with anyone else, right? If we get divorced, you'll never be able to marry again. Are you okay with being alone for the rest of your life? Ryan's words only made me angrier. I played the recording from the pet monitor I had saved last night. Ryan looked shocked after seeing the video. I said, "You don't want a divorce just to keep your position at work. You don't even think of me as your wife. I'd rather be single than stay with someone who doesn't care about me and abuses their power." My mother nodded firmly in agreement, and then I heard my father's voice from behind. She's right, Ryan. After seeing that video, I asked around at the company. It seems you were using your position as my son-in-law to push work onto your subordinates and make them do unnecessary chores, acting like a king. I guess I still have a lot to learn about judging people. Please wait, father-in-law. This is not what it looks like. It's my mother. Yes, it's all my mother's orders. She told me to harass Susan and use my position as your son-in-law to push work onto others. So you really were pushing work onto others? I was furious and disgusted that Ryan was trying to blame his mother for everything while admitting to his own wrongdoing. Ryan looked at me with pleading eyes, but I turned my head away in an exaggerated manner. Just then, another irritating voice interrupted. Ryan, I came to help you. My mother-in-law had arrived to support Ryan, but he had already betrayed her. He pointed at her and said, "It's all her doing." My mother-in-law looked confused. What do you mean, Ryan? I came here to be on your side. Are you trying to make me the bad guy? You were the bad guy. It's all your fault, Mom. If you hadn't harassed Susan, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't be talking about divorce, and I wouldn't be worried about losing my position. Don't blame me. It's all your fault for trying to get rid of me. They continued to blame each other, and my parents and I watched in astonishment. Their argument seemed endless. My father, tired of the chaos, sighed and spoke up. You two can argue about this at home. I'm disappointed to find out that you, Ryan, are such a despicable person. There was talk of promoting you, but I'm going to cancel that. What? Ryan looked at my father desperately, but my father remained firm. Our divorce was finalized on the spot. We printed the divorce papers at home and signed them right away. Ryan's bad behavior at work and his divorce from me, the boss's daughter, became widely known, making him so uncomfortable that he resigned. He tried to find a new job, but the rumors had spread and he couldn't get hired in the same industry. He tried switching to a different field, but that didn't go well either. After a big fight with his mother, Ryan moved out and started living alone in a shabby apartment. He has no money and is barely getting by with day labor jobs. His mother, who used to dote on him, is now living alone, feeling lonely. The neighbors found out about how she mistreated me, and now she lives a quiet life, receiving cold stares. I moved back in with my parents, and the three of us are living together again. Without the burden of my ex-mother-in-law and Ryan, I can focus better at work and have been given bigger responsibilities. A year after the divorce, I see signs of a new beginning. There's a junior colleague I worked with on a project, and we've built a trusting relationship over time. Recently, our conversations have shifted from work to more personal topics, and he even asked me out. This time, I hope to build a happy family, and I believe that with him my wish will come true.